In the YouTube video titled Lecture 23, Symmetric Key Establishment and Kerberos by Christof Paar, Professor Paar begins by introducing the fundamental problem of key distribution in symmetric cryptography. Although algorithms like AES and Triple DES offer robust encryption and decryption, the secure distribution of keys remains a critical challenge. To address this, Professor Paar delves into the concept of key establishment protocols, classifying them into two fundamental approaches: key transport and key agreement. Key transport protocols rely on one party, often designated as Alice, generating a key and transmitting it to the other party, Bob, through a secure channel. This channel could involve a system administrator, a trusted third party, or a pre-existing secure connection. In contrast, key agreement protocols demand collaboration between both parties to establish a shared key. This process often utilizes public key cryptography techniques, such as Diffie-Hellman. Professor Paar then elaborates on the simplest key establishment protocol, often referred to as the n-square key distribution system. This approach necessitates a unique key for each pair of users within a network to ensure secure communication. While conceptually straightforward, this approach suffers from several significant drawbacks. The most notable is the quadratic growth of the number of keys required as the network expands. This poses a considerable management burden on system administrators, who must generate, distribute, and secure a vast and ever-increasing number of keys. Additionally, incorporating new users into the network proves challenging, requiring the system administrator to establish secure channels with each existing user, a process that can be both time-consuming and impractical. The latter portion of the lecture shifts focus to a practical approach for key distribution known as the Key Distribution Center, KDC, protocol. Professor Paar explains that the KDC acts as a trusted authority within the network, maintaining a unique key for each user. Secure key exchange occurs through communication between users and the KDC. This approach offers significant improvements over the n-square system, reducing the number of required keys and simplifying the process of adding new users. Professor Paar highlights the benefits and limitations of the KDC protocol. A notable advantage is its linear complexity in key management. Since the KDC stores only one key per user, managing large-scale networks becomes more efficient. Furthermore, adding new users becomes a streamlined process, requiring only the establishment of a secure channel between the KDC and the new user, without the need for extensive reestablishment of channels with existing users. However, the KDC protocol is not without weaknesses. One critical vulnerability lies in its susceptibility to single point-of-failure attacks. If an attacker gains control of the KDC, they can compromise all communication within the network. Another shortcoming is the lack of perfect forward secrecy. This means that if the KDC key falls into the wrong hands, an attacker can decrypt all past communication within the network. Professor Paar concludes the lecture by introducing the concept of perfect forward secrecy. He emphasizes that certain public key cryptography-based protocols possess this property, making them highly desirable for securing sensitive communication. Furthermore, he underscores the importance of key freshness. Regular key changes are essential in any key establishment protocol to mitigate the risks of attackers leveraging compromised keys. From 0 minutes to 5 minutes of the video, Professor Christof Paar introduces the intricate problem of key establishment within the field of cryptography. He emphasizes its foundational nature, noting that this crucial concept has been largely overlooked until this point in his lecture series. Paar highlights two primary approaches to key establishment: key transport and key agreement. Key transport involves the selection and transfer of a key by either Alice or Bob, or a designated third party, to the intended recipient. Conversely, key agreement mandates active participation from both parties in the key generation process, leading to shared ownership and control. Paar then elaborates on the role of a trusted authority TA, a central entity tasked with securely generating and distributing keys. He underscores the inherent limitations of this approach, particularly the exponential growth of required keys and the imperative for a secure channel to facilitate their transmission. From 5 minutes to 5 minutes of the video, Professor Paar delves into the critical topic of key establishment, a fundamental aspect of secure communication. He distinguishes between two primary paradigms for key establishment: key transport and key agreement. In key transport, one entity unilaterally determines a key and transmits it to the intended recipient, whereas key agreement necessitates collaborative participation from both parties in the key generation process. Paar then elucidates the n-square key distribution problem, which posits that the requisite number of keys escalates quadratically with the growth of the user base. This presents a considerable logistical challenge, particularly in scenarios involving large-scale networks. To illustrate, a company with 750 employees would necessitate a staggering 750 times 750 is equal to 562,500 keys, rendering this approach highly impractical. Professor Paar introduces the concept of a key distribution center, KDC, as a solution to this problem. The KDC acts as a trusted third party, responsible for securely distributing keys to each user in the network. By employing this strategy, the KDC manages a unique key for each user, effectively reducing the total number of keys to n keys. This significant reduction in key management complexity greatly improves the feasibility of secure communication. The importance of perfect forward secrecy is highlighted, ensuring that past communication remains confidential even if the KDC's keys are compromised. This property is essential for maintaining the integrity of sensitive communications and mitigating the risks associated with key compromises. From 10 minutes to 15 minutes of the video, Professor Paar introduces the concept of the n-square key distribution problem, a rudimentary approach to distributing keys within a network. He illustrates the concept by envisioning a simple network comprised of 4 users: Alice, Bob, Chris, and Dorothy. Each pair of users necessitates a unique key for secure communication, resulting in a total of n*(n)(1) keys, which equates to 12 keys in this instance. However, this method rapidly becomes impractical as the number of users expands. For instance, if the network comprises 750 users, the total number of keys required skyrockets to 750 times 749 is equal to 561,750 keys. Professor Paar then elucidates the inherent disadvantages of this method. First, the sheer number of keys becomes unmanageably large, necessitating a trusted authority to generate and distribute them. Second, the addition of new users necessitates updating all pre-existing keys, which culminates in a complex and time-consuming procedure. Third, this method relies on the establishment of a secure channel for initial key distribution, which is often an impractical endeavor. To mitigate the shortcomings of the n-square key distribution problem, Professor Paar proposes a more streamlined approach that leverages a key distribution center, KDC. In this model, the KDC serves as a trusted authority, maintaining a single key for each user, thereby reducing the total number of keys required from n*(n)(1) to 2n. For instance, with 750 users, the KDC would only need to store 750 keys. This simplification streamlines the key distribution process and renders the addition of new users significantly easier. The KDC would only require the generation of a new key for the new user and its subsequent integration into the KDC's database. However, even this KDC approach exhibits certain drawbacks. One significant limitation is the creation of a single point of failure. If the KDC is compromised, the security of all keys within the system is jeopardized. Furthermore, it lacks perfect forward secrecy, meaning that if a key is compromised, all past communications that employed that key become susceptible to decryption. The KDC method represents a step in the direction of more practical key distribution, yet it underscores the crucial need to identify more robust and scalable solutions for secure communication. From 15 minutes to 20 minutes of the video, Professor Paar delves into the shortcomings of the n-squared key distribution problem. He provides a vivid illustration of the issue by considering a company with 750 employees. This scenario necessitates the creation of 750 multiplied by 749 key pairs, yielding a staggering 280,875 keys in total. The professor emphasizes that such a system mandates a trusted authority, such as a system administrator, to distribute these keys, rendering it computationally expensive and impractical for large-scale networks. Professor Paar then introduces a solution to this problem: the use of a key distribution center, KDC. This approach streamlines the process by employing a singular key per user, thus eliminating the exponential growth of keys in the n-squared method. The KDC, acting as a central authority, distributes unique keys to each user, reducing the overall key count to n, making the operation linear rather than quadratic. This simplification significantly improves efficiency, especially in large networks. However, Professor Paar cautions that the KDC, despite its advantages, introduces a critical vulnerability. If the KDC is compromised, it becomes a single point of failure for the entire system, potentially granting an attacker access to all user keys. From 20 minutes to 25 minutes of the video, the speaker transitions from a general discussion of key establishment to a more specific exploration of key distribution center, KDC, protocols. He emphasizes the KDC's role as a trusted entity that manages a centralized repository of keys for secure communication within a network. The speaker contrasts this with the previously discussed naive approach, where each user pair required a unique key, leading to a quadratic scaling of keys with the number of users. The KDC protocol, in contrast, introduces a more efficient and scalable solution. The speaker explains that the KDC, instead of holding separate keys for every user pair, maintains a single key for each individual user. This results in a linear increase in the number of keys needed as the network grows, significantly reducing the complexity of key management. To illustrate the KDC protocol, the speaker uses an example involving Alice and Bob, highlighting the steps involved in establishing a secure communication channel between them. Alice initiates communication with Bob by sending a request to the KDC, including both her and Bob's identifiers. The KDC then generates a random session key, encrypts it with Alice's key and Bob's key separately, and transmits these encrypted keys to their respective recipients. Alice and Bob can then decrypt the session key using their own private keys, establishing a secure channel for subsequent communication. From 25 minutes to 30 minutes of the video, Professor Paar introduces a more practical and scalable approach to symmetric key distribution in a network environment, known as the Key Distribution Center, KDC, protocol. This protocol diverges from the earlier discussed naive approach, where a system administrator manually distributes keys to every user pair, requiring a quadratic number of keys. In the KDC protocol, a trusted central authority, the KDC acts as an intermediary. Each user in the network shares a unique, static key with the KDC, e.g., Alice shares K, sub A, / sub, with the KDC, Bob shares K, sub B, / sub. When Alice desires to communicate securely with Bob, she sends a request to the KDC, including her and Bob's identifiers. The KDC then generates a random session key, K, sub AB, / sub, which is ephemeral and unique to this communication session. It then encrypts K sub AB / sub, using Alice's key, K sub A / sub, and Bob's key, K sub B / sub, transmitting these two separate encrypted messages to Alice. Alice can then decrypt her encrypted session key, K sub AB / sub, using her unique key, K sub A / sub, and initiate secure communication with Bob using K sub AB / sub. Bob will need to decrypt his encrypted session key, K sub AB / sub, using his unique key, K sub B / sub, before participating in the communication. This protocol significantly reduces the number of keys required in the system from O(n) sup 2 / sup to O(n), thereby simplifying key management. Furthermore, Professor Paar highlights the critical concept of perfect forward secrecy within this protocol. He emphasizes that even if an attacker were to compromise Alice's key, K sub array / sub, they would be unable to decrypt past communications between Alice and Bob using K sub AB / sub, provided that a unique session key, K sub AB / sub, was generated for each new communication session. This is because previous session keys, K sub AB / sub, were encrypted using the compromised key, K sub A / sub, as well as a different still secure key, K, sub B, /sub, effectively shielding past communication from decryption. From 30 minutes to 35 minutes of the video, the speaker introduces a novel concept for key distribution in a network environment. This approach, utilizing a key distribution center, KDC, circumvents the limitations of prior methods that necessitated the transmission of all traffic through a central point, thus creating a potential bottleneck. In this new framework, the KDC serves as a trusted intermediary, generating and securely distributing session keys to users. The process begins with a user, let's say Ellis, requesting a session key to communicate with another user, for example, Bob. The KDC, upon receiving the request, generates a random session key and encrypts it using the individual keys it holds for Ellis and Bob. These two encrypted keys are then transmitted to Ellis. Ellis, possessing the key shared with the KDC, can effortlessly decrypt the message intended for her, thereby acquiring the session key. However, she is unable to access the message encrypted with Bob's key due to the absence of that key. Simultaneously, Bob receives the two encrypted messages from the KDC. Utilizing the key he shares with the KDC, he decrypts the message containing the session key encrypted with his own key, thereby obtaining the session key. This allows him to successfully decrypt the message sent from Ellis. This novel approach, the speaker emphasizes, eliminates the requirement for a central point of communication, thereby enhancing security and efficiency. Further, it is more intuitive and user-friendly, as the process is transparent to Bob, who does not need prior knowledge of Ellis's intent to communicate. The speaker concludes this segment by highlighting the benefits of this approach, particularly its adaptability to dynamic and evolving network environments. From 35 minutes to 40 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the practical application of a key distribution protocol, contrasting it with the naive approach discussed earlier. He emphasizes the efficacy of employing a single key per user within a system, resulting in a linear complexity, a marked improvement over the quadratic complexity inherent in the naive method. This linear complexity arises from the fact that there are n keys required for n users, simplifying the management of keys as the number of users scales. The speaker highlights a key advantage of this approach. Adding a new user to the network necessitates only the establishment of a secure channel with the KDC, Key Distribution Center, eliminating the need to establish separate secure channels with all pre-existing users. This streamlined integration significantly improves the efficiency and scalability of the system, particularly in scenarios involving large user bases. Furthermore, the speaker underscores the paramount importance of safeguarding the KDC's database, as compromising this central repository would grant an attacker access to all the keys within the system. Finally, the speaker introduces a real-world example of a commercial key distribution system, Kerberos, which leverages the KDC architecture as its foundation. From 40 minutes to 45 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the vulnerabilities inherent in the Key Distribution Center (KDC) system. He posits that the KDC constitutes a single point of failure, rendering the entire system susceptible to compromise if an attacker gains unauthorized access. Should such an event occur, the attacker could decrypt all past communications, emphasizing the critical importance of robust security measures to safeguard the KDC. The speaker then introduces the concept of perfect forward secrecy, highlighting that if an attacker compromises the KDC's encryption keys, all prior communications become vulnerable to decryption. He underscores the paramount importance of regularly updating or rotating encryption keys, emphasizing the concept of key freshness. Failure to adhere to this principle could expose the system to significant risks. The speaker notes that while not all public key-based protocols offer perfect forward secrecy, some do. He alludes to the in-depth exploration of this concept in subsequent lectures, indicating that perfect forward secrecy is a key topic in the field of network security. The speaker stresses the need for stringent security measures to protect the KDC's database, which contains all the encryption keys for users in the network. He concludes by reminding the audience that the KDC system forms the foundation for the Kerberos protocol, a widely adopted commercial system in the real world. From 45 minutes to 50 minutes of the video, Professor Paar delves into the inherent vulnerabilities of Key Distribution Center (KDC) protocols. He underscores the concept of a single point of failure, emphasizing that compromising the KDC's master keys would render all communications susceptible to decryption, past, present, and future. This vulnerability is elucidated through a whimsical analogy involving a fairy granting wishes. In this thought experiment, gaining possession of the KDC's keys equates to acquiring the ability to decrypt all communications, emphasizing the critical importance of implementing robust key rotation strategies. Paar highlights the paramount importance of key freshness, whereby keys are periodically renewed to minimize the impact of a potential compromise. He emphasizes that without regular key rotation, an attacker could potentially decrypt past communications if they manage to gain access to the KDC's master keys. This scenario underscores the critical need for secure key management practices to ensure secure communication channels in dynamic environments. From 50 minutes to 54 minutes of the video, Professor Paar delves into the paramount principle of perfect forward secrecy within the realm of cryptography. He elucidates that even in the event of a compromise of the key encryption keys, K, KB, KC, all prior communications remain inviolable and impervious to decryption. This robustness stems from the generation of novel session keys for every communication exchange, effectively rendering previous conversations impervious to compromise, even if the keys employed in generating those sessions are compromised. The professor underscores that this principle enjoys widespread adoption and rigorous definition within the field of cryptography. He then interweaves this concept with a pragmatic example: a corporate entity encompassing 750 employees, each furnished with a key, K, KB, KC, for communication with the Key Distribution Center, KDC. If a malicious actor were to breach the KDC, they would gain unfettered access to all 750 keys. However, if the system is fortified with perfect forward secrecy, the attacker's capabilities would be restricted to decrypting communications initiated from the moment they gained control of the keys, leaving past messages untouched. This principle effectively mitigates the risk of compromising historical communications by ensuring that even if a single key falls prey to compromise, the confidentiality of past exchanges remains inviolate.